this rapper, musician, Lil Nas X, put out a music video called Montero, I believe. I actually don't know what Montero really is about. Maybe that's the name of the place the music video took place in. And it's basically about him having sex with Satan and then actually killing Satan in the end, I guess. Or Satan has sex with him. I'm going to be graphic about it to an extent because you have to be, because that's just the music video. And then at the end, he kills Satan and
like takes over,
and it's in hell. It's like in kind of the Dante's Inferno, like circles of hell. And then on top of that, he's coming out with shoes that are all about Satanism, and they're only 666 available, and they all have a cc of human blood in them. And people, when I first see that, I'm all about express yourself. Be you. If you're gay, if you're bi, whatever. As long as you don't hurt other people. But this is not what that's about, really, at the end of the day. Especially when his primary listeners are youth, young,
they're kids,
teenagers. Yeah. They are. That doesn't really send out the right message. And because if it's about liberation, you would have done something, you could have or should have done something positive and filled with light. It doesn't need to be about Jesus, but it also doesn't need to be about Satan or a satanic figure who's raping you.
Yeah. Have you heard about this story?
I've read about it. As a journalist, it's my job to kind of know a little bit about everything,
right?
But not a lot about anything. Yes, a little bit about everything. But I go ahead with your question.
As we know, things at that level of fame and fortune, i.e. Hollywood, i.e. the top of the top, the 1% music people, etc., there's really not a lot of creativity going on. It's usually an agenda, or usually it's written by somebody else and promoted by them for some specific reason. I mean, obviously what gets the most money.
Yeah.
But with that amount of power, don't you think you would want to do something that is filled with what we know as good? You don't look at that and say good.
Right.
You don't look at Satan solely for the symbolism of Satan and say that's good, that's liberation. It's like, no, that's actually dark.
But there's an attempt to skew it that way.
Right. And that's
to use it as a form of empowerment, which to me, and then I want to get your thoughts on this, it kind of feels like, well, okay, let's say you're suffering on the inside. You know, you've been affected somehow, and you want liberation from that. You want empowerment from that. Well, do you turn to a drug dealer because he gives you an ability for some sort of mental liberation? Oh, if you're in pain, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, turning to sane when you're in pain, that's the analogy I think of, is like, it's like turning to a drug dealer when you're in pain. It might help, I guess, but it's an interim help, and in the long term you're kind of putting yourself in a negative energy for, God forbid, the rest of your life. Why not turn into, like Chad was saying, light? Why not turn into therapy, into healing, and bring yourself out of that instead of divulging in the darkness, which might give you some comfort temporarily? Does that make sense?
Yes. No, it makes perfect sense. But as you say, all it does is give someone a temporary comfort. It is never lasting.
Yep.
And it certainly is not eternal. There is a lot of darkness in the world today. There are a lot of negative influences. The media is, when I say media, I'm talking about newspapers, magazines, television, just all the onslaught of media. We have a glut of information out there trying to be pushed our direction. We need to decipher, we need to discern what is truly good and what is light, as you said. And I'll play off that for a moment. I'll build upon that because it's important. That the other elements naturally will bring in the darkness, that you spoke of. And even having the conversation, one feels just a bit more dark than it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But when we speak of light, we speak of that which is good, that which is godly, that which is just and merciful and loving and kind.
Mm-hmm.
And those elements which bring in a great deal of light to be a positive influence in today's society instead of a negative influence.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need more negative influences in today's society? No.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly we don't. We want positive influences. So those elements, to us, to me, that's darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want darkness. I want light,
Yeah.
as you speak of.
Yeah.
And I want light because it brings in more peace. It is the difference between confusion and being lost and tranquility and being found
Mm-hmm.
with light and darkness.
Are you tired of the government trying to calcify your pineal gland and turn you into nothing more than a working zombie? Look no further, because the Houston Ensemble has now been sponsored by the amazing Epic Water Filters. Tell us what they do, Armin.
Epic Water Filter is the only true filtration system you need. All these other filtration systems skip out on so many terrible chemicals and minerals that are still in your water and that you should not be drinking.
Fluoride, chromium, lead, all these other things that you do not want in your water. We've got water bottles with filters on them. We've got home installation filters. We've even got pitchers. Right now you can get 20% off any of these items on epicwaterfilters.com if you use our discount code Houston Ensemble, all lowercase, one word.
That's Houston Ensemble, lowercase, one word, for 20% off your Epic Water Filter.